Tastemakers was funded in part by
In the hands of those who take pride in what they do, something unique can be created. Edward Jones is proud to support the craftspeople who define the maker movement.
In this episode of Tastemakers, we're heading to Bozeman, Montana to meet the guys behind Roots Kitchen Cannery's award-winning pickles and preserves, and we're going to meet the farmers who supply them with those pristine fruits and veggies. I'm Kat Neville, and for the past 2 decades, I've been telling the story of local food. In that time, American food culture has exploded in tiny towns and big cities from coast to coast. In Tastemakers, I explore the maker movement and take you along for the journey to meet the makers who define the flavor of American cuisine. Back before refrigeration, when people wanted to preserve food for the winter months, meat was smoked and dried, and fruits and vegetables were fermented, pickled, dried, and turned into jam. Roots Kitchen and Cannery carries on that tradition with a modern twist.
I met my business partner in college. And I graduated in 2008, kind of the height of the recession. I wasn't seeing a lot of jobs in my field. So I started working in the food industry, as did he. A couple years after graduating, we just decided, hey, let's start something. Let's build a kitchen and let's figure out what to do with it. And that's kind of as far as we got with the planning. It was like, if we build a kitchen, we can figure something out. And we had the idea that we wanted to preserve local foods and be partners with the farmers. Our growing season in Montana is absurdly short, and so to take full advantage of it, you have to preserve. And that was kind of our goal. Homesteaders and pioneers, they had to preserve everything. When the winters are 8 months long, you can't survive off of just game or potatoes and root vegetables. You want to have a little variety. So I learned how to can in a very DIY fashion. I just kind of started doing it. I think I bought a book. I was lucky with a few of my first recipes where they just turned out really well, and I was like, okay, I think I have a knack for this. I knew that I wanted to kind of play around with flavors a little bit, and one of the first ones I came up with was a plum sage jam. It's really tart, it's got a nice savory characteristic, kind of similar to a cranberry relish. It's just me playing around in the kitchen, just having fun and just thinking what can pair well with a fruit and what can pair well with a vegetable, and how can I take something and slightly tweak it.
So these are Italian plums.
Yeah, these are Italian plums. If you drive around Bozeman, a lot of yards will have them. One of the reasons that this was kind of my first recipe is because you can find them everywhere. So I just asked somebody if I could pick their plums and came up with this plum sage jam that we were making.
And so what made you think to use, especially sage? It's kind of like rosemary. Right. It has a really, really forward flavor.
Yeah, I wanted something that was kind of like borderline savory, something that you could have at the Thanksgiving dinner table. Probably my favorite jam we make.
Nice. And you use a lot less sugar than commercial jelly or jam makers, right?
Yes, correct. I just like to be able to taste the fruit. And when you have a jam that's, mostly sugar, you don't taste the fruit, you taste the sweetness. And I want to still be able to taste the characteristics of the fruit. And so that's kind of why we hold back on the sugar. And, it makes for a healthier jam.
Sure.
It makes it a little more versatile as to what you can do with it. You can use these in all sorts of cooking applications. You can, put them on pork. You can, do all sorts of baking with them.
Cheese plate.
Yeah, just on a cheese plate, exactly.
So the process for making jam, it's really pretty simple, right?
Yeah.
You just put everything in a pot and let it simmer.
Yeah, exactly. All we're really doing is cooking down the fruit. All of this fruit has pectin in its skin. We add a little extra pectin so that we get the consistency that we want. But yeah, in essence, all you really need is sugar and fruit.
We've mentioned the plum sage jam, obviously. Tell me some of the other stuff that you're making.
We have our kind of staples that we distribute nationwide, and that's our curried carrot, our sweet beet and garlic pickle, and our dill pickle. Those are kind of our standbys. We make a few other small batch things when we can get the right produce, whatever's kind of available to us, but the ones that we focus on are those three. And then as far as jams, we do a raspberry vanilla, a blueberry lavender, and a blackberry Earl Grey. Those are our 3 berry jams.
Yum.
And then we have a apple butter and then the plum sage. And those are the main ones that we focus on. I've probably made, 10 to 15 different types of jams.
In case you're wondering, jam and jelly are not the same thing. Jelly has all of the solids strained out, while jam retains all of that wonderful chunky fruit goodness. And so we're here at Treeline Coffee in Bozeman. We're going to check in with Natalie and see how she uses Roots jams on her menu.
We are known for sourcing wonderful coffees from around the world and developing great partnerships and relationships with our growers in coffee and our local suppliers in town. Patrick and I kind of came up in business together.
Natalie has been one of my entrepreneur buddies since we both started. For about a year, she roasted her beans in my kitchen until she was able to build her own cafe. She happens to have a beautiful plum tree in her yard, and so we've harvested plums from her tree and made our plum sage jam, which they then use on their waffle dishes at Treeline.
We work with Patrick and serve several of his jams. We have these really great biscuits that the jam is phenomenal on, and then as a nod to our coffee region, we make arepas, which are a traditional Colombian or Latin American cornmeal patty, and are using his jams on that. It's like a sweet savory. Patrick has this incredible lavender syrup that pairs so well with coffee, and we tend to roast on the lighter side of things, which the coffee's already kind of nuanced and fruity, and so it pairs super well, and even with the milk it just creates this like wonderful aromatic experience in the coffee.
The reason we use locally grown produce, one, it tastes better. The quality is just outstanding. You can't find anything like the stuff that's grown in this valley at the grocery store. It's just not possible. Another reason is just the connections that can be made between people, the camaraderie, the kind of like community that is built around that. It's a scary thing to open up a business. It's a lot less scary when you guys are all kind of in it together. You're not buying from some farm thousands of miles away. It's better for the environment. It's better to grow things from a farm 10 miles away and process them in my kitchen than to ship them from California or Mexico.
The cucumbers for Patrick's pickles and the apples for his apple butter were grown right here. This is the Gallatin Valley Botanical at Rocky Creek Farm. It is a 57-acre diversified organic family-run farm just outside of Bozeman, Montana.
We are tucked up in the edge of the mountains just east of Bozeman, 3 miles. So we're pretty close to town, and we have a very rural Montana feel to where the property is. This is not a common thing in any city, and to have it right on the edge of town and easily accessible for people to be able to see a snippet of agriculture and where their food comes from, and to be able to get out and take direct part in that is an important part of our community.
So Gallatin Valley Botanical is just an amazing farm. They grew most of our cucumbers this year. We purchase a lot of apples from them.
In this orchard, there are 28 varieties of apples, and they mature at different times of the year. So we almost always have apples that are ready to be picked from some point in late August all the way into October.
I'll just go in there and just shake a bunch of trees and pick a bunch of apples and come back to the kitchen and make our apple butter. One of my main focuses when I'm canning is to bring the integrity of the vegetable out. So I like to process them minimally so we're not destroying their texture.
So Patrick just put 24 jars into the boiling water. It's going to be there for 11 minutes.
We do it for 11 minutes.
So why specifically 11?
We have to bring it up to temperature. We have to ensure that we've killed off all the bacteria, but we don't want to overcook any of our stuff. We really want that crisp pickle to be there. And so that's kind of like the nice fine line where we pull it, we temp it, and we've done what we needed to ensure that we've made a safe product.
So it stays crunchy.
Yeah, so it stays nice and crunchy.
You have, I don't even know how many pounds this is of fresh dill that you just picked, what, yesterday?
Yeah, we just picked this yesterday, yeah.
So when you look at his jars, they're full of dill seeds and celery seeds and garlic, and then these beautiful whole fronds of dill. And it's not just for looks. I mean, it really, all of that plays together in kind of that preservation process to just really enhance the flavor of those cucumbers.
We're trying to capture a little bit of summer in these jars. So we want to preserve the freshness of the vegetable and capture the essence of what the vegetable is bringing.
Awesome. And so the brine that you use is going to be vinegar based.
Yep, we use non-GMO white distilled vinegar. That's the base for our brine, and then we just add some salt, some turmeric, some other things, some water to balance it out.
So why do you use a vinegar base rather than fermenting your vegetables? I mean, obviously fermentation is kind of like the big thing right now, but you've chosen not to go in that direction.
Yeah, correct. For us, it was important to create a shelf-stable product. We have about 3 to 4 weeks of processing cucumbers. We have this short window, and we have to make enough to last the entire year.
Yeah.
So essentially, if we want to keep it local, we have to do shelf-stable pickles.
I think a lot of people, you go to your grocery store, there are cucumbers there every single day of the year, but because you're choosing to source locally and within the season, that season naturally is short. That's the way people always had to adjust their diet for all of eternity up until we invented refrigeration and shipping things across the country.
Yeah, exactly. We walk through the grocery store and we're just so used to everything being available all the time. And we don't realize, well, if we want to move forward towards a more sustainable kind of future and more sustainable practices in agriculture, we have to think more in terms of the seasonality of things. And so that's what we're kind of trying to do.
Yeah, preserving the summer harvest so that you can enjoy it in the dead of winter and get a little taste of what Bozeman, Montana is like during the summer months.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's time to get those things out.
I got it, Quinn.
Perfect timing. Our next stop is here at Amalfia Farm. This is where Patrick sources his carrots and his beets, but there's a lot more than that growing here on this diversified family farm. So I'm standing here on Amalfia Farm with Nate, obviously surrounded by the majesty of this Montana valley. How big is the farm?
So our farm in total is 160 acres, and we farm 3 acres in vegetables and have 5 high tunnels that we grow warm season crops in as well. In Montana, we can have a frost every month of the year. It's a little tricky sometimes, but it's also a challenge and kind of why we like it, because it gives us something new to do all the time and keeps it fun.
Keeps you on your toes?
Yeah, definitely.
Amalfia Farms is 1 part goat dairy, 1 part pork producer, 1 part vegetable producer. I mean, it's an incredible homestead. It's always fun to go out there in the spring and see all the goats and the goat babies, and it's a lovely place.
So tell me a little bit about your cheese, because I mean, obviously what Patrick is doing is kind of preserving the harvest, and that's exactly what cheese is. It's what it does. It's something that becomes shelf stable that you can keep for months and months.
Yep, we milk about 200 goats, so we're just able to take that milk, process it within 3 days, and store it at our creamery, and that will allow us to kind of keep cheese throughout the winter. Our cheese has a 6-month shelf life as a fresh cheese, so it's really shelf stable and really just delicious. That's what we did for about 20 years and still continue to do. That's how we started in the business, and my kind of job or work on the farm has been to kind of utilize byproducts like our compost that we get from the goats and the whey from the cheese making we feed to the pigs and stuff. So it's kind of a closed loop system that we're kind of working on.
So you're holding these amazing beets.
Yep.
And this is what Patrick sources from you along with carrots.
Yeah, it's kind of nice to see our end product end up in his recipes and stuff, and they're just delicious.
What do these types of relationships, direct relationships with people and makers like Patrick, like what value does that have for you?
Well, it's pretty huge for us because we can diversify our farm, kind of bring in other income streams. Say 1 year our goat cheese doesn't do as well, we can still have good vegetable sales and good pork sales, and so it's just kind of an insurance for us to kind of hedge our bets a bit, and it's just really nice to be able to sell our products within 5 miles of the farm to people who are doing awesome things with them and help feed our community.
Yeah.
Just the taste of local food and organic food, I think, is just so much better that it can't be beat. So
can't be beat. Haha.
Can't be beat.
Preserving food for the winter was critical before the invention of refrigeration, and there's been a real resurgence in the interest in canning and pickling. So Mac Burgess over at Montana State University brings his students directly to Roots to learn hands-on from Patrick. Tell me where we are, like within the campus, and what you're doing here.
So we're here at the Montana State University Agriculture Experiment Station Horticulture Farm, the home of Towns Harvest Garden. So Towns Harvest Garden is a 3-acre organic, diverse vegetable farm that's operated entirely by students. So I teach a class here during the summertime where students run every aspect of this farm, from working the soil in the spring, starting seeds, planting plants, harvest and marketing of all the crops that we grow. And we grow pretty much everything you can grow here in Montana.
You have a farm stand that operates right here on campus. Is that revenue coming back to support the farm?
Yep, so Towns Harvest Garden has revenue from several different sources. The major one is a community supported agriculture, or CSA program. So our customers purchase a subscription to the farm and come weekly from the middle of May through early October and pick up a basket of vegetables that's worth about $30 a week. And they share in the risk of the farm a little bit. We've never let them down, but some years there's gonna be more kale and less zucchini than others. And that's just part of being a CSA. But they also get a lot of diversity of things they might not otherwise go buy at the store. Things like fennel and celeriac and really cool purple skin plums. And then the students also do 2 farm stands a week, one on campus, largely servicing employees of the university. And then we also do a farm stand in the parking lot of a Section 8 housing complex for disabled senior citizens who don't have a lot of access to good food.
Oh, fantastic.
And so we go there and sell at a reduced price and build wonderful relationships there between students and members of our community in need.
So Patrick actually teaches a lot of your students how to can and preserve over at Roots, is that right?
Yeah, that's a great opportunity that we have to get students involved in a real business, making and preserving and adding value to foods. So a lot of our students are in culinary arts, hospitality management, or food processing type programs, and they really want to learn that kind of stuff. And I can teach them a little bit, and we have kitchens on campus where we can do that. But Patrick's operation is a business, and it's federally inspected, so we can take canned products that students manufacture at his facility, and we can sell them to the public or utilize them in campus events. We do a tomatillo verde salsa, we do pickled cucumbers, pickled beets, pickled carrots, things like that. That Patrick has been really accommodating, really great, in letting students come into his business place, follow his procedures and his protocols, learn how all those work, learn what's involved in being an inspected and certified kitchen, and make products that we then give to our customers. And it works out really well. It's a great arrangement.
I love canning. It's very satisfying. At the end of the day, your racks are filled with jars. Especially around fall time, I kind of get this urgency that, you know, I need to start like stockpiling. It's like biology or something. You want to like start getting ready for the winter. So when I make, you know, a day's production of pickles, like it just feels like this is what I did. Very satisfied with that. Like I made this, and people all over are going to be able to enjoy it. You open a jar of our jam, and you can taste, you know, the freshness. You can taste, you know, the summer or the fall. Before commercial canning came around, every family knew how to do it. That's kind of no longer the case. And so I feel it's an opportunity to, like, you know, share what I've learned. I think it's just important that we all kind of remember how to do these things that we survived on for, you know, for generations.
I adore fried pickles. I think they're probably the perfect bar snack. And so we're wrapping up this episode here at Hail Mary's. They're going to teach us how to fry up the perfect dill pickle spears. I am here with Justin, and we are in Hail Mary's, which is inside of another bar here in downtown Bozeman. Which bar is this?
The Rocking R Bar.
The Rocking R Bar. A lot of times when you think about grabbing, you know, some fried pickles or something like that at a bar, you aren't necessarily thinking about the fact that those ingredients might be local, but these definitely are.
Yeah, Pat opened his business and I was really excited for him. We've known each other forever. And if I can get a local pickle from my friend, you know, I absolutely will. So.
Well, I love fried pickles. I think it's probably my favorite bar snack. So you're going to show me how you make yours, because they're a little bit different. I love this.
They're a little bit different, yeah. We usually cut them in half just to get sort of a better pickle to breading ratio. We'll soak it in a little buttermilk.
Why buttermilk?
It just helps the coating stick better, and it adds a whole nother level of flavor too, kind of a tanginess, and it goes along well with the pickles. So here's our cornmeal dust. It's just cornmeal and various spices added into it. So we'll throw that in the bowl, and then we'll separate the pickles out from the buttermilk. Get a good coating on all of them.
All right, so you're gonna fry them up?
Yep.
So that took like, what, 2 minutes?
2 minutes, yeah, about 2-3 minutes, and pretty quick, pretty easy. It's a lot like a catfish batter from the South, I suppose.
It looks just like catfish, and I love catfish. This is the way a fried pickle is supposed to be. The pickle itself, it has like some heft to it.
Right.
It's not soggy and soft. So it really kind of starts with the way that Patrick makes the pickles to begin with, that he doesn't over-process them.
Right,
And
yeah,
then the way that
they're
you guys
great.
treat them here just kind of like brings out that wonderful
Yeah.
vinegary brine.
Yeah.
Perfect with a beer.
Yep, I would agree.
So for more information on Roots Kitchen and Cannery, along with this recipe for fried pickles, just head to wearetastemakers.com. Thanks for joining me here in Bozeman, Montana, and I will see you next time. Connect with us online at wearetastemakers.com or through social media on these handles.
Tastemakers was funded in part by
In the hands of those who take pride in what they do, something unique can be created. Edward Jones is proud to support the craftspeople who define the maker movement.